Honesty, passion, experience. It's Timberwolves Explosion, hosted on the Paladino Live Network. And now, your host, Paladino Joey. Hello again, Timberwolves fans. Are you ready for the explosion of Timberwolves basketball? I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awijan. Timberwolves Explosion is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. It looks like we have 3 games to review, 2 games to preview. It wasn't the best week in the history of the world, but surely not the worst. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, I guess. It's just a loss. Just losing one of these is kind of dumb. But, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Meatloaf would say. Timberwolves beat the Warriors. Wonderful. Without Anthony Edwards. Beat Sacramento with a certain host of Timberwolves Explosion in attendance. Because I don't go to games that much, so it's definitely a rare thing. Beat Sacramento. That was fun. And couldn't beat Memphis. What the heck? Just kind of went cold. Timberwolves 2-1 this past week. So like I may or may not have said, 3 games to review, 4 games to preview. And just, losing the Memphis game, that was kind of a waste. Losing the Phoenix game, over a week ago on December the 8th, a waste. Let's see, there's a certain team that's 25-2 up and coming. Oh yeah, we get to play them tonight on Amazon Prime. So get your Amazon Prime app out, or on your smart device, or on your smart television, or laptop, or this top or that top, whatever it is. Yes, get Amazon ready to roll. And then you get to play the Bucks, the New York Knicks. That's a little bit tougher. And, of course, Denver, 20-6. So you're playing 2 of the best teams in the West, 1 of the best teams in the East, and then a mediocre Bucks team. Don't lose to the Bucks. Don't lose to the Bucks. That's basically like losing to Memphis, and you just can't do that. Yeah, even the Sacramento game was kind of meh, too. That was annoying. Well, with all of that said, there is a major story that all of you have probably heard already, or at least you've heard bits and pieces of it. Generally speaking, I will simply read off the headline and then get into what is being said a bit in the John Krasinski article of The Athletic. Johnny Athletic, as he is well known on the Dan Barreiro Show and KFAN, and generally speaking. Kevin Garnett reaches agreement with Laurie A-Rod to return to Timberwolves in off-court role. I'm mostly celebrating with you to celebrate with you. I have not been a big fan of Kevin Garnett the last X amount of years because of his attitude. I don't like anybody with attitude, and I've made that statement very clear the last several years. Stop talking about attitude. I have a story to talk about Stephon Marbury one of these days, maybe on this episode. Let's just say somebody at work has a story, and obviously take it as is. You never know if it's 100% true, but let's just say it was believable. The guy is a effing a-hole. That's all I got to tell you about Stephon Marbury. He is the biggest a-hole ever. Kevin Garnett, he was kind of hit and miss. Very nice to me when I met him multiple times. But, yeah, other stories, especially behind this, especially kind of like inside the organization and such, not always the best. But definitely a nicer guy than Stephon Marbury. I mean, all you ever heard was cocky, asshole, jerk, arrogant, D-bag, even a little bit racially motivated. He's not a nice person, period. So we'll leave that exactly where that is. We'll get to it maybe someday. I don't know. I'm probably not going to have it on today's show because this is Garnett, Again, I don't worship Garnett. Some people might, and this and that. I just don't. But obviously, it's nice news and such. John Krasinski for the past 10 years has been one of the biggest misfortunes in the NBA. See, some of that's kind of like, oh my God, why is this? It's a tragedy. It's not a tragedy, Garnett wasn't exactly being, I don't know. Sometimes you got to be I don't know. Sometimes you got to go with the flow with things and not be so angry and hateful all the time. It's kind of tiring, but it is what it is. I understand, obviously, him being traded kind of started some of the spark, and Glenn Taylor's comments years ago was, we're not the best, like, oh, Kevin tanked it or whatever, during one of those years when we were kind of trying to hang on to a draft pick after that Sam Cassell trade. So obviously Garnett's not the tanking type, so that was dumb. Not a good statement to say. Maybe like the last game of the season, because it's like, why play? You're going to, why risk injury when you're not going anywhere? It was, that type of thing. Like you sit out the 82nd game because, you're not going anywhere. What's the last thing you need is to, pop your knee and be out for the whole next year or maybe the year after that, depending on how things go. So that was dumb. Obviously, the Flip Saunders promised Garnett some things that we have no idea what those promises were, but a role in the front office, probably ownership and all that. And then, unfortunately, gets sick with the Hodgkin's lymphoma. We talked about that around late October or early November because I missed it. That was so embarrassing. It was a 10-year anniversary. But yeah, the 10-year anniversary, we talked about that. What happened to Flip passing away on October 25th, 2015. And that led to a kind of a chain reaction where Glenn Taylor was, I'm sorry, but whatever conversations you had with Flip Saunders kind of go with him, unfortunately. It is what it is. We're going in a different direction, this and that. So Garnett played. That conversation didn't officially happen, though, until after the season, where it was kind of like a lot of stuff going on at once. Garnett played with Sam Mitchell. I actually went to one of the games that season. I was like, and it was crazy when Flip was still alive. And it was like, I don't, like I said, I don't go to games very much. And then you see, you go to, like the last game I was at many years ago, the Wolves still had their, their classic tree uniforms, the black trees, blue trees, white trees, whatever, white jersey with the tree trim. And Flip Saunders was the coach, and they had regular tube TVs everywhere. And then you come back in 2015, Flip Saunders the coach, Kevin Garnett's there, not the tree trimmed look, unfortunately. That's the one difference. But the tube TVs were still there, and it's like 2015 tube TVs. Interesting. But it was kind of funny. It's like Garnett and Flip Saunders are back. Wow, it was crazy. That just happened, and obviously, I'd been doing the show forever. But I'm just saying, it was just funny. I come back and they're there, obviously, because it was just ironic that I would be back at the game when they're back again. And then the next year, of course, no Flip. It was Sam Mitchell. Garnett had one of the great dunks of the year in one of those games. It was really awesome. I think it was against the Clippers, if I remember correctly. Spectacular dunk. And then, unfortunately, at the end of the year, it was kind of like, Glenn Taylor was basically like, no Sam Mitchell. We're buying out Garnett. Or he didn't officially do it. It was Tom Thibodeau. When Tom Thibodeau was brought in, they officially bought out Kevin Garnett's final year of his contract. And then it was just kind of utter silence after that. And then you found out that, stories coming out that Glenn Taylor's a snake and this and that. So then it's been basically, it had been basically animosity ever since. So now he's back, as Mr. Krasinski says, John Krasinski. Now at long last they will get to see the most famous number in team history hanging in the Target Center rafters where it belongs. Now the question is, when will that be? Who knows? But yes, they reached a new partnership with Garnett. The team announced Thursday. This clears the way for his jersey to be retired. Of course, it'll be number 21, which, this is the only place he wore 21. I believe he wore number 2 in Brooklyn, wore number 5 in Boston. What irked me as a fan was like when Garnett said with the 5th pick in the 95 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics select Kevin Garnett. That's why he chose the number 5. And it's like, geez, that was kind of mean. Yeah, that was a little mean. That's like, gee, thanks. Gosh, we were loyal. We spent thousands of dollars going to, season tickets and all that. So that was kind of annoying. It was very weird. 21-year Hall of Fame career. Yes, 13-plus seasons with the Wolves officially. Reuniting with the team. So he will be what they call an off-court ambassador role that will include business, community, fan engagement, and content development. So you can imagine stuff like that. Like he's going to be, what do half of the girls in Facebook and Instagram have on their profile? A content creator or something, or digital creator. It's like, that's adorable. Like, yay. I guess we're all I'm a content creator too, I suppose, making podcasts. But yeah, so maybe he'll be doing podcasts, maybe some vidcasts, some videos. I'm sure. And obviously he's at, Area 21 historically, so unfortunately riddled with F-bombs. And whoops, you're not supposed to say that here on, the FCC rules and stuff. So that's kind of funny. And in the podcast world, a lot of people drop F-bombs like they don't give a dang, including the most famous podcast in the world, Joe Rogan and all that. So let's get off of that for the moment. It's a good show, though. I mean, I don't listen much, but just I have so many podcasts I listen to. So the agreement calls for Garnett to attend select home games. Well, how generous. I'm just kidding. How generous of him to come to some home games. Well, duh, right? You'd hope so. Even Wally Zerbeck has been coming to some home games lately, which is pretty cool. Champion community initiatives, whatever that means, and provide content for the team. He will not have a role in the basketball decision-making. That's probably, that's for the best, because I've gotten into that about 1,000 times in this podcast over the last, X amount of years, going back to 2008. Yeah, no. It's crazy. When this podcast started, Garnett was only gone for about a year, and the Celtics went on to win an NBA championship. I was actually hosting Paladino Live that year. Timberwolves Explosion started up later that year. But anyhow, new owners, I got to stop talking about me and my stories. New owners Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez made it a priority to rebuild the bridge with Garnett and re-engaged with him and his representatives, business manager Rich Gray and attorney George Daniel, after completing the purchase of the franchise last summer. It was nice to get that done. Garnett says, "I'm thrilled to be back home." A statement issued by the team. Okay, Minnesota is where it all began, where I was young, hungry, and learning how to compete at the highest level. Yep, so that's pretty cool. And then, of course, talked about the whole disrepair. Obviously, the 2007 when he was traded, that was kind of, it was a sad day for the franchise. It was, but it was kind of at a point where it just felt like the team wasn't going to get better. The cap situation was messed up. There were bad trades. There were bad draft picks. It was kind of like, it kind of was what it was. It was time for a parting of ways, mutual parting of ways in a lot of ways. Of course, Garnett never did want to go. There was that brief reconciliation when Garnett returned in 2015, like I talked about, and Flip was there. And the poor guy, got Hodgkin's lymphoma. Hodgkin's lymphoma did not kill him. It was the treatment. Hodgkin's lymphoma is a very, the survival rate was in the 80% range, but the treatment occasionally, honestly, from what I know, I am not a doctor or anything like that, but when you take chemotherapy, your immune system is just about gone during the course of that time, and if you get sick, you could be in really big trouble, and that's basically what happened, which is really one of the saddest things of all time. Like, why did that have to frickin' happen? Why? So, awful story, obviously. Yep, they're talking about, the Celtics retired Kevin Garnett's number 5 jersey in 2022. I mean, they won a championship with him. There were some wonderful years. Celtics finally won another title recently in 24, so that was nice. I'm like, what year was it? Yeah, and in 22, they should have beaten the Warriors, but they didn't. Should have, but didn't. Taylor said in the cast that Garnett never reached out with an offer to buy the team before Lowry and Rodriguez, before ultimately Lowry and Rodriguez were the new owners. So, interesting. Garnett has only attended one game at Target Center. I kind of have a vague memory of it, but I don't remember when. Since retiring in 2016, he was forced to retire because his contract was bought out. But again, he was 40. So, as long as Taylor owned the team, Garnett said he would not agree to a ceremony to have his jersey retired. And yeah, that bugs me a little bit. It's like, okay, eventually you got to mend sides a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I'll just get off of that. Okay, we're getting to near a final statement here. Bringing Kevin home has been a priority since we acquired the teams because of the links, yes. Rodriguez and Lowry said in a statement, he is the greatest player in Timberwolves history, and his impact on our franchise and community is immeasurable. This is more than a reunion. It's a statement about honoring our past while pursuing excellence and building one of the most admired sports organizations in the world. We couldn't be prouder to welcome him home. Sounds nice. Is there any more quotes? Okay, so interesting. Let's really quick. This is way at the bottom here. Now they are going to get that chance, to get everything together or whatever. The team said it would announce specific details for a retirement ceremony at a later date. Yep, it'd be later. But the reconciliation spread quickly through the Wolves' land, finally 30 years after he was drafted. 30 years after he was drafted. Isn't that crazy? Back in June 1995. Yep. And 9 years after he last played in the NBA, Garnett is coming back home. Then again, as he told me in 2018, yep, so that's like a link to an article apparently, in some ways he never left. Garnett quoting, "That's my home, ain't nothing going to change that," Garnett said back then. Just know that just because I ain't in the rafters don't mean I ain't in that building every night. I left my spirit and my soul there. You can't ever replace that. You feel me? That will always be forever, as long as they have the the Timberwolves in Minnesota. Pardon me. So yeah, interesting, cool quotes. Well, regardless of my ups and downs, vibes, welcome back, Kevin Garnett. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Yep. Very brief, positive stories about Garnett in my personal experience. Very brief. Way back in 1999, after the lockout ended, remember that? There was a free scrimmage at Target Center. I believe that was it was like January, February. I think it was early February. Still recovering from wrist surgery, so it's February for sure. I won't get into the wrist thing. It just, you get hurt. People get hurt. At the end of the scrimmage, it was just a beautiful experience. Got to see Malik Sealy for the first time. They had just signed him earlier in the day. And it was like, oh my God, my jaw dropped. This guy is really good. How come we barely ever hear about him? When he was with Detroit and all that in Indiana, I barely ever heard of him. And it's like, holy crap. But at the end of the scrimmage, so yep, God rest Malik Sealy's soul, of course. Garnett admired the heck out of him. At the end of the scrimmage, Kevin Garnett sat down in one of those metal chairs and started shaking a black Sharpie. And it's like, oh my God. Oh my God. You don't shake black Sharpies just to, play around. Hey, this guy's going to sign autographs? Holy crap. Everybody else had just walked right past us, including Stefan Dingleberry, who took his jersey off and was posing like, hey, look at me. Aren't I'm ripped. I'm better than all of you. Blah, ha, ha. That's pretty much what Marbury did. Whatever. You could tell he's an ass. You could tell he's an ass the second you look at him. But Garnett sat down in the chair, started signing autographs. And it's like, oh, this can't be real. And he started walking, got in line, whatever. It wasn't that big of a line because I was one of the earlier people in the line. And I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck am I going to have him sign? And it's like, oh, duh, I'm wearing a replica Garnett jersey. I walk up, it gets to be my turn. Face to face with this Kevin Garnett, 7'1", obviously a big admirer of him at the time. Still very early in his career. I was silent, kind of shocked, and he gave me this funny stare. He was imitating my eyes, like okay, all right, and then he signed the jersey, and I patted him on the back, said thanks, Kevin, and yep. Other times we saw him we were on the boat, me and my brother and his friends. And there was Garnett on the jet ski. I waved. He gave me a salute. That was pretty cool. This is Lake Minnetonka. And one final time when I was working in the service industry, just a couple years, I think, before he was traded. It was like a year before he was traded. Yes, it had to be about then. About that. It was less than a year before he was traded. All of a sudden, there's this really tall guy pumping gas into a Range Rover. And it's like, no. Yes, it is. Oh my God, that's cool. And then up, it was Garnett again. Just kind of waved. Yep, he waved, gave me a salute, and then that was the last I ever saw him in person. So, yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yes, pumping gas. I did work at a gas station part time because I was kind of going through multiple job type of situation. Then that was not a good time, but it is what it is. But I got to see Garnett there. And other random people that would show up that were, like Viking offensive linemen and stuff. That was cool. Trent Tucker. Yeah, really fun times. But enough of that. Welcome back, Kevin Garnett. Yep, it's nice to see, and we'll finally get the jersey retired. Let's get to the reviews. I'll try to make this fairly brief, but obviously that was a big news story. Holy cow, it's already like a full segment length here. But again, Garnett's back. It is what it is. We're going to go on and on with stories a bit with that. Timberwolves did beat the Golden State Warriors, thank God, 127-120. Anthony Edwards not available. Bones Highland gets out there and has a knee contusion within 5 minutes. He made a 3-point shot and had a knee contusion. 2 assists, looked pretty good. And that was it for him. Doggone it. He finally got to start and he had a knee contusion. But the good news is, he comes back. Don't worry. Naz Reid, 18 points off the bench. Donnie DiVincenzo against his former club, 21 points. Julius Randle, great week, I'd have to say. What a, Garnett-like numbers here. Except the rebounds probably could have been a little higher. 9 rebounds, but that's close to Garnett right there. 6 assists, that's Garnett. 27, actually probably a little higher. Garnett's was usually around 20 to 25, but 27's a little bit higher. Jaden McDaniels, God, I finally got to see him in person, and holy, what a great player. Oh, does he have a wonderful future. And Julius Randle was a joy to watch as well, all those post moves. And of course, we were seeing him on TV, but then you see it in person, you just there's just more definition. And I'll have a brief story about that as well. That's the next game. 17 points for Julius McDaniels. Wow. 27 points for Julius Randle. 17 for Jaden McDaniels. Didn't shoot particularly great from beyond the arc, 1 of 5, but still wonderful game. 5 assists and all of that. Rudy Gobert had an awesome week. These are Garnett numbers right here. 24 points, 14 rebounds, 1 assist. Okay, yeah, you had the 5 assists, and there's your Garnett in his prime right there in his MVP season. Did add a block, as did Rudy Gobert. Did have a very strong week. Very strong. Terrence Shannon Jr. kind of back in the swing of things. 9 points off the bench. Great. Obviously, he's had some lousy games and all of that. Kind of actually was secretly injured off and on. They didn't really talk about it much, kind of coming back from injuries and such. Or it was there, but a lot of us maybe not have paid close enough attention. Some did. Clark didn't have his best game. He was a minus 10 in 19 minutes and only 2 points. Dillingham, 6 points off the bench. Good for him. But Wolves kind of hung in there. It was kind of a back-and-forth game for an extended period. And then the Wolves had a wonderful fourth quarter, just pulled away, and man, did that feel good. Bones Highland, obviously not as much of a factor, unfortunately. DiVincenzo with some catch-and-shoot threes. Julius Randle just getting into the basket. Naz Reid, catch-and-shoot threes as well. Corner shots, 18 points off the bench. Nice to see Naz Reid kind of getting back in the swing of things. Again, as, recovering spiritually, mentally. Yeah, from a very sad off-the-court incident. Most of you already know what it is. His sister was murdered. So, yeah, and it is what it is. Yeah, the only term you can use is recovering. That's all. Timberwolves win again, 2 in a row. Woohoo! 117-103 over the Sacramento Kings. 6 p.m. game. Cold night, very cold night after a super cold Saturday. Still cold Sunday, and then it warmed up for a while. Then super cold again today, Friday, January 20. January. What is wrong with me today? December 19th. Yes, I got the month right now. Russell Westbrook, got to see him. Zach LaVine, only 10 points. He was kind of banged up, unfortunately. He only played 15 and a half minutes, unfortunately. So, yeah, that was interesting, to say the least. It's just kind of filled with injuries. Again, no Anthony Edwards. So that was extremely disappointing to see that. Anthony Edwards is still out. How he got to the game, so my supervisor, of all people at work, said, would you like to come? Basically like earlier, like about a week in advance. Like I accidentally bought too many tickets, and they got to be there with him and his cute little daughter. Thank you, David. Yep, that's his name, David. So what a nice guy, extremely nice guy. We had a lot of fun at the game, enjoying it. This will surprise you so much, right? This will just shock you. I'm not a fan of the music at sporting events in this day and age. It's just not for me. You can probably guess that 100 miles away. Just not a fan, but obviously able to look past that and enjoy the experience. Bones Highland was wonderful. He looks like a skinny Spreewell, doesn't he? Of course, with that number, but he still kind of looks like Spreewell, at least from a distance when you're watching him, either on TV or in person. Looks like a skinny Spreewell, and obviously there's a reason he's called Bones Highland. He's skinny. 18 points, wonderful game for him. Nice, some nice dishes, 5 assists for him. Dante DiVincenzo was moving the ball up the court. A few catch and shoot threes. He missed a number of them, 3 of 9. Little trigger happy, but 6 assists, 4 steals. Yep, Dante DiVincenzo was kind of all over it, poking at the ball the whole game. Julius Randle was doing that with 3 steals. Jaden McDaniels as well, 2 steals. Forcing some turnovers, which was cool. Naz Reid with 2. Isn't that crazy? Timberwolves had 12 steals in the game. It was very entertaining. Kind of a team effort here in this one. Naz Reid was awesome. 20 points, come catch and shoot, corner threes again. Catch and shoot, they were catch and shoot. Gobert left for personal reasons. It's like, wait a minute, where's Rudy? He had 12 rebounds in this game, 12 in just 20 minutes, which is psycho. Even 3 assists, which were pretty fun to watch. Shannon Jr. again kind of back to being a non-factor. Dillingham, I liked what I saw. He was moving the ball nicely. No turnovers. I liked what I saw out of Rob Dillingham. I was like, yeah, man, I'd like to see him more. But Bones played a wonderful game. 2 turnovers, unfortunately, but could be a lot worse. The Wolves only had 11 turnovers in this game. It was annoying as hell. The Wolves were down by like 9 points for like an extended period. It was like 9, 8, 10, 11. Guys, come on. And yes, kind of like the Warriors game, the Wolves got better, and obviously Sacramento's a far inferior team to the Warriors, but still, it's like, it was kind of similar. The way the Wolves were kind of screwing around, probably more so in this one. You can't lose to these guys twice this year. This would have been the second time. You just can't do it. I know there's talented players there like DeRozan and Zach LaVine, but I mean, they're 6 and 21 for a reason. Like, guys, get your head out of somewhere and start playing. Julius Randle again. He didn't have a great game, but wonderful post moves. He still wound up with 24 points and 10 rebounds. Definitely a Garnett type of game here. 3 assists. He was entertaining. Great, great post moves. Jaden McDaniels, just love his game. He did miss a lot of threes, 1 of 7, but. Man, you just love his game. The defensive, he's just there defensively. He's outstanding. Wow, the Detroit Pistons lost to Dallas last night. What the heck? They lost to Dallas. The Pistons. Yikes. The Pistons are actually good now. Remember just a few years ago, the Pistons were putrid bad. They're really good now. But anyhow, yes, a wonderful experience. Really enjoyed it. Wouldn't mind going again. Just got to be smarter about maybe eating first. Yeah, it didn't help that players were getting ejected from Detroit, flipping out. But anyhow, what am I trying to say? I could either probably smarter to eat first before you go because sporting events, it's kind of expensive. I was just craving a stadium/arena hot dog that night, and that's what I went for. I went for multiple hot dogs, 2 of them. I was really, really, really hungry, and yeah, everything's expensive. Everything. So like a can of beer is like what, $13, $14, $18. No, I'll pass. I have like a ton of good quality beer behind me, so I'll pass. Anyhow, yeah, better quality than like Coors Light. No. You'll probably not be hearing Coors Light advertisements on this show. Probably not. But no, a fun, entertaining game. Happy the Wolves won. Very happy. It was funny, too, when the Wolves went up by like 9 or whatever. It was like a 9 or 11 or something, like with about a minute left. And then David looked at me and did the little whoop, did the little cutthroat. And I'm like, yep, we kind of did it at the same time. Like, yeah, that was it. It was the dagger. I think it was a Naz Reid 3 that kind of made him up, put him up by 11 maybe. And that was all she wrote. Unfortunately, on the 17th of December against the Memphis Grizzlies, hosting the Grizzlies, mind you, the Grizzlies don't have a putrid record, but they're below 500. They're not that good. And of course, the crazy, goofy guy is out with inactive injury illness. That'd be Ja Morant. Some people would say he's a future Timberwolf. Others would say no, he's really not. And those that say no, he's not, let him in. There's no celery salt. What's wrong with me? Lemon and the tomato juice. I forgot to put the celery salt. There we go. Kevin Garnett back with the Wolves. Lemon and the tomato juice to you, Kevin. There we go. Lemon and the tomato juice. Oh, shoot. It's late here. Sorry, thank you for joining me for a brief cup of coffee there. Jaren Jackson Jr. was fantastic. I mean, I talk about Garnett. Great defensively, 28 points. He was insanely good defensively. He did have 3 blocks. Blocks don't always mean great defense, but it's good. It's good to have, that kind of thing. Just like degrees don't guarantee you a good job, but they're good to have. But let's get off of that topic right now. I don't, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. Jaren Jackson was a fantastic defensive player, fantastic offensively. Main reason the Wolves lost the game, plain and simple. He's a coward, 13 points starting there. Wells, 17 points. Landale, 20 points off the bench. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who's a Grizzly now, 12 points off the bench. Shot like garbage, but still wound up with 12 points. The Joey Awajan efficiency ratio here with the shooting. 12 points, 12 shots. Yeah, that's not good. No. Jaren Jackson, 28 points, 18 shots. That's better. So, 43%, 44%. What did the Wolves show? Yeah, it was lousy. 39%. They're 40% basically. Awful. 29.5% from downtown. Awful. Naz Reid had 16 points, and it took 16 shots to get there. Julius Randle had 21 points, and it took 21 shots to get there. Jaden McDaniels had 13 points, and it took 11 shots to get there. Bones Highland, 12 points, 11 shots. What's wrong with you guys? Donnie DiVincenzo, 16 shots to get to 19. 5 shots for Dillingham to get to 5 points. Wow. Shannon, 6 shots to get to 6 points. Jalen Clark, 4 shots to get to 2. I mean, I think I made my point. Okay, one more. Rudy Gobert, 8 points to get to 16. Hey, somebody actually played well. And he had 16 rebounds, and he had 4 blocks. Rudy, nice week. Nice week. Sorry about the personal issues. No information on that I know of. And if somebody's heard it, that's interesting. I mean, I don't like to pry into that stuff too much. Hope it's nothing too serious. Like, you don't want to hear of any bad news anymore. We're tired of hearing that. Bad news sucks, doesn't it? It is amazing that everybody on the bench either had equal or more field goal attempts than points. The whole bench was awful. Most of the starting lineup was pretty awful too. Though Bones Highland was a plus 10, McDaniels, Jaden that is, was a plus 9. So at least there's pluses. Gobert was only a plus 1. But again, he's not this offensive force, but he is a defensive player, to say the least. 4 assists, 4 blocks, a little bit of everything. Jaden McDaniels did foul out in the game as well late, and things just kind of snowballed in the wrong direction. You can't even beat the damn Grizzlies, and Highland, Bones Highland, 3 of 11. That sucks. 2 of 9 from outside. He only made 1 2-point shot to hit Bones Highland. The Wolves even were kind of stuck here at the free throw line to stay up 70%. Meh. That's not going to win you any awards. Gobert, 4 of 6. Randall, 2 of 4. Donnie DiVincenzo, you're a shooter, 3 of 6. Jeez. Jeez. How about 5 of 6? Let's see. That puts you within, what was the final score again? It was a 4-point loss, right? 6-point loss. That puts you within, if he was 5 of 6, that puts you within 3. Maybe one stupid player makes one more stupid 3-point shot, and you go to overtime at the least. Julius Randle, 1 of 6. Maybe Highland makes 3 of 9 instead of 2 of 9, and then you win the game by 3. Or Clark makes something. Holy crap. So it was just an awful game. Awful loss. Guys, come on. It looked worse than it was. We lost by 6. It's not the end of the world. The Grizzlies are not good, and I don't know. And again, credit to Jaren Jackson. He's an outstanding player. He's another one that can't necessarily stay healthy very often, but when he is healthy, he's awesome. And it is what it is. Those freaking lost to the freaking Grizzlies. So with that said, I better get moving here. The Lone Wolf Award winner for this episode is Rudy Gobert. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Bones Highland or Julius Randle. No, it's Rudy Gobert. I think he had a wonderful week and deserves a lot of credit. Too bad about the personal issue that kind of took him out of the Sacramento game, but he looked awfully good in that game as well. Rudy Gobert getting the Lone Wolf Award in this one. I know David's not a big fan, and generally I haven't been either, but I was a big fan this week. If you like Garnett and everything, he had a kind of a Garnett-ish type week. Kind of, because, was Garnett a spectacular offensive player? No, he was a good offensive player. He was a spectacular defensive player and playmaker. So the Johnny Flynn Memorial for this episode, I was getting into the Minnesota Wild there, James Shepard Memorial. Johnny Flynn Memorial, Clark looked kind of good against the Kings, awful against Memphis. Everybody sucked against Memphis, though, it seems like, except Rudy Gobert. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Jalen Clark, and I don't want to, dang it. I don't want to give Jalen Clark that thing. It's going to be Jalen Clark. He had a crappy week. He was only 1 of 3 against 16 and a half minutes and only 2 points. And I know, he does way more than score. He does a lot of stuff that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. Yes, I agree. He does. Defensively, just kind of that defensive presence. I don't know. I just don't think he had a good week. It'd be nice. Obviously, there's more to him than that. Terrence Shannon Jr., maybe they'll share it, just to be gentle. I didn't hate Dillingham's week at all. I think, again, a little boost in confidence would be nice coming his direction. So we'll have them share it. Shannon Jr. and Jalen Clark, we could use some more, especially in these upcoming games. With that, we'll take a quick break and look at the upcoming dealies. And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion, segment number 2. Going to look at the upcoming games, if humanly possible. I'll try not to babble too much. The frickin' Oklahoma City frickin' Thunder come to Target Center tonight. Get your Amazon Prime ready to go. Amazon Prime and Peacock and this and that. Oh boy, scary. I don't like this. I don't like the Thunder. I just don't. I'm not a fan. Injury report. Mike Conley, Achilles. Not out for the season or anything, but it's a sore Achilles. So, no, we didn't hear about any Achilles popping. I bet people would look at that and say, oh no. Foot injury for Anthony Edwards. Doggone it. Zion Pullen. Yep, I know he's one of those reserve guys. Okay, it is just 3 injured players, and this is an extra screen popping up. Because I know there's actually extra players that get hurt sometimes. The Thunder have a couple extra ones. Injured reserve for Thomas Sorber. Nikola Tupik, injured reserve groin. And we'll go back here a little bit, and those were going way back. Tupik, October 19th. Wow. So he's been out with a groin since October. That's a long time. Sorber, like I said, the knee injured reserve is September 5th. That's kind of too bad. Jalen Williams has been day-to-day with a foot as of December 17th. Isaiah Hartenson, who's a pain in the ass to deal with, physical player day-to-day with a foot, December 17th. Buddy Boeheim, ribs. I can relate to that, unfortunately. Yup, ribs and sternum. Yeah, topic was about 2 weeks ago, I believe, if you care. December 19th. Okay, so that's like right now. There's your injury report. Team comparisons. Scoring, Oklahoma 2nd, Timberwolves 8th. Field goal percentage, Oklahoma 3rd, Timberwolves 9th. Free throw percentage, I'm just mentioning it because it's number 1 in the league. That's the Thunder. They make all their free throws. That figures. Yeah, that's an inside joke right there. That totally figures. Of course, yeah. They get to the line about 4,000 times because it's the way they play, which is really annoying. David reminded me about that too, how much he doesn't like it either. Yeah, it's garbage. 3-point percentage 6th, Wolves 5th. 3 point made per game. Oklahoma 10th, Minnesota 9th. Assists, Oklahoma 12th, Minnesota 13th. Total rebounds, Oklahoma 13th, Minnesota 18th. God, we've been struggling there. Turnovers, Oklahoma's great about it, 2nd in the league. Wolves are 13th. Block shots, Oklahoma's 8th, Minnesota's 13th. Assist to turnover ratio, Oklahoma 3rd, Minnesota 11th. Decent. The Wolves lost a semi-spine tingler back on November 26th. Of course, there was more free throw merchant BS in that one, like it always is. Another loss to the Thunder, like everybody else. So Wolves trail the series 1-0. This one comes to Tarjay, hopefully a win, which would be wonderful. Another one in Target Center, Amazon again. So these are all kind of national games, I guess, if you count it as that, with Amazon. It is a rematch of the West Finals, even though it was a very lopsided series. It was not fun at all for us. January 29th is that Amazon game in Target Center, and then back to Oklahoma on March 15th at noon. ABC. Sounds like a Sunday. We'll have a lot more sunlight and maybe some warmer temperatures as well. But, yeah, Oklahoma recently lost to the Spurs, who are way up there as well. Their record is way up there. Oklahoma and San Antonio, both good again, like they were back in, not way back in the day, but like 2012-ish. 2012-ish, yep, when they were both kind of moving up in there. Like the Spurs were getting good again. They had Kawhi Leonard now to join the older Tim Duncan, Tony Parker guys, Manu Ginobili, and they were able to squeak out one more title, but multiple Western Conference final appearances, including one against this OKC club. So, luckily the Miami Heat took care of business versus OKC in that one, but probably in the minority on that on that opinion. Probably. Very, very likely. I know everybody hated the Heat and loved the Thunder. Oh, yeah, Westbrook was annoying too. He's got a little Marbury attitude to him, but I don't think anybody's as bad as him. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, 25 games, almost, about 32 and a half points a game. 6.5 assists. We're in this weird era where it's a bunch of like shooting guards playing point guard type roles. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. Like when you look at the top point guards in the league and it's like, Booker. Devin Booker, he's a point, you know what I mean? Not really. He's a shooting guard, right? So it's like, I don't know. But he's like he's like the playmaker and all that. I don't like it. And they're putting Ant in that role now. I don't know. I'd rather have like a real point guard. That's all. Chet Holmgren, second on the team in scoring, almost 19 points. 8 rebounds, not that high, but a block and a half. Obviously, they're very good defensive-minded. We all know these guys. Hardenson's a physical, tough guy. 10.5 rebounds a game. 12 points. Close to the basket all the time. He barely ever shoots threes, which is fine because he plays that inside game. Jalen Williams can be annoying, but he's been oft injured throughout the year, only 7 games. 17.5 points a game. He's a 96% free throw shooter, which is interesting as well. And of course, free throw merchant himself, who attempts almost 10 free throws a game. Yikes. 8.4%, sorry. And almost 44% from downtown on 5 threes a game. Isaiah Joe, you think Isaiah Joe, 92% from the free throw line. And 42% from the three-point line. So, great shooter there. I don't know. I can't say enough wonderful things about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah, they'll probably beat us. Probably, because they're beating everybody else. I'd love to step out in faith and say the Wolves are going to beat Oklahoma City tonight. But I kind of can't. Which sucks. That's why you got to beat Memphis. That's why you got to beat Phoenix. Because you need those games. Because then you run into frickin' Oklahoma and possibly Denver here coming up on ABC. Well, we are running into Denver. It's not possible, but maybe another loss there. And even the Knicks, that's not going to be easy either. So it's frustrating, to say the least. Very frustrating. Yeah, that's Denver on Christmas Day. That's why it's at a weird time and all that. And on national TV on a Thursday, because Thursday's Christmas. Wow, I'm already talking about Christmas Day on Timberwolves Explosion. But the Wolves will not beat the Thunder. Final score will be something along the likes of 115 to 110. We're going to be right in it the whole time and not win. But then again, if Anthony Edwards is out, it'll probably be a little worse. Like maybe 118 to 105. I don't know, something like that. Wolves will host the Milwaukee Bucks after the Vikings probably beat the Giants and McCarthy continues to look better. Hopefully for his sake. Injury report for the Bucks. What do we got here? DeAndre Bembry out with the knee as of December 19th. We're not sure if that's a super knee injury or not. Some of you may know. Maybe just soreness. Kyle Kuzma, who's been a pain in the butt day-to-day with illness, December 17th. Giannis, that'd be Giannis, the Greek freak himself, injured reserve calf, so that helps the Wolves' chances again, of course. we've seen the Bucks have almost nobody healthy and the Wolves lose the game before. So don't get too cocky, right? The Wolves did it in that case. December 3rd for Giannis with the calf injury there, which you don't mess with calves. Sometimes calf injuries turn into Achilles tears. Let's not even think about that. Taurean Prince, former Timberwolf, injury reserve neck. Ouch. Just November 7th. Ooh. Yeah, he has been well traveled, hasn't he? The Bucks. Now the point. Yep. Now I already talked about our side of like what we are in the league. So we just how I do it. I go into the rest of the teams individually. They're 24th in points, 4th in field goal percentage. And I'm bringing this number up because it's crazy. 30th in free throw percentage. They're terrible there. 72.1. That's funny. Three-point percentage, though, they're best in the league. Go figure. They can't make free throws, but boy, can they make threes. 3 points made, 4th. Assists, 11th. Rebounds, 30th. They're terrible at rebounding, apparently. Turnovers, they're 15th, right in the middle. Block shots, they're 24th. Very bad. And assist-to-turnover ratio, right in the middle, 15th. The Bucks. Pretty sure. What am I doing? Somebody tell me what I'm doing, please. Okay, yep, this is the season opener, so to speak, between these two teams, and then the season finale, because it's just two-game series, is January 13th on NBC. Go figure. So, nice. It's NBC. Oh, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? So, yes, this is a Sunday night, 6 p.m. game. No, those are those poor staffs that still have to work Monday and Tuesday. Are you kidding me? So pathetic. Yeah, but it is what it is, yes. We have to still work the next day. God, pisses me off. Weak. Anyhow, the Wolves will beat the weak Buccaneers, the weak Bucks, Milwaukee Bucks. The Buccaneers. That's a new one. The Wolves will beat the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm distracted with all this clatter behind me. But don't tell anyone I said that. The Wolves will beat the Bucks. Again, there will be no Giannis most likely because you don't play around with calf injuries. Otherwise, Giannis did average 29 points. Kevin Porter Jr. has only played in 8 games, but he has been healthy finally. 19.3. So somebody who made fun of me saying there is no Kevin Porter Jr. in the NBA. Yes, there is. I just had the wrong Porter Jr. at the time. That's all. It was the Denver one. So, whatever. Ryan Hollins. Wow, he was with the Wolves for a while. He's still around. 17. That can't be the same guy, can it? 17 points a game. 6 assists. Can't be the same guy. No, it can't be. It can't be. That was years ago. Miles Turner's on the Bucks now. Yep, wonderful player. 1.6 blocks a game. I got him in fantasy somehow. Somebody actually caught him. I'm like, what are you doing? Okay, I get it if he's not having the best year of his life, but what are you doing? Gary Trent Jr., sharpshooter, down to 37.7 a game, but A.J. Green is almost like this is why the Bucks are like the best three-point shooting team in the league. Kevin Porter Jr., he attempts over 5 threes a game, 52.4%. 52.4%. Ryan Hollins, almost 6 threes a game, 38.7. Miles Turner, almost 6 three-pointers a game. What the heck? That's too much for a center. 37.7. Bobby Portis, Bobby. 47.6. A.J. Green, 48.5. That's insane. Even Taurean Prince is making 43 threes a game. 33% anyway, on 3.5 threes a game, but he's only played in 8 games, but he's making his shots and he's shooting them. Bucks are a spectacular three-point shooting team, so guard the perimeter a little bit if you could. Number 1 in the league at 40.4%. That is pretty good. So good for them. The Wolves will beat the Bucks. Final score along the likes of, I don't know. Can't imagine them being great defensively. So obviously we're going with 122 to 110. Wolves win by 12, believe it or not, over the Bucks. Leading scorer against Oklahoma City, Julius Randle. Leading scorer against the Milwaukee Bucks. I think it's going to be somebody like Jaden McDaniels. It'll be like an interesting one there. New York Knicks, New York State of Mind. Tuesday, the 23rd of December. The injury report. Well, it looks ugly. I mean, ugly. Melvin Ajinka, day-to-day groin, December 19th. T.J. Warren, day-to-day personal, 12/19. That'd be December. Of course, John Jenkins, day-to-day knee, December 19th. Mitchell Robinson, very important guy who can't stay healthy. Day-to-day ankle. He's had ankle problems forever. December 17th. Josh Hart, day-to-day ankle, December 17th. Carl Anthony Towns, day to day, so maybe he'll be playing. Knee, December 17th. Miles McBride, injured reserve ankle. My God, what's up with the ankles everywhere? What's going on, guys? Cover your ankles, fellas. Like Mr. Like wear those higher tops. That was what's Nick? Yeah. Why am I blanking on his name now? Nick Van Exel. It's like I'm almost like my brain was stopping. It's like I'm about to start clicking around. It's like, oh yeah, Nick Van Exel. Yeah, cover up your ankles, fellas. That's what he said on Twitter a year ago, when it was like Achilles after Achilles after Achilles. Yes, cover up your ankles, please. Miles McBride, ankle, like I said. Landry Shamet. I think he was in a Timberwolves rumor a while back. Injured reserve shoulder. November 23rd. Ugly injury report for the New York Knicks. But at least Jalen Brunson's healthy. That's nice. He's had a lot of injuries. New York Knicks are 4th in points, 11th in field goal percentage, 16th in free throw percentage. I don't know why I read that one. 4th in 3-point percentage, 3rd in three-pointers made. Yes, they shoot 9 million threes like everybody else. 9th in assists, 4th in rebounding, Carl. 4th in turnovers, Jalen Brunson. 19th in blocks, Carl, right? Not that good. Assist to turnover ratio, 5th. So, yeah, it's a pretty well-oiled machine there in New York. They've won all 5 of their last games. They beat Indiana by a point, though, and that's weird. Beat the Spurs 124-113. Orlando, to even beat Toronto, that's impressive. They're beating Orlando twice is pretty good, too. So good for them. Marbury's not on the Knicks anymore, obviously. No kidding. 19-7. They're up there, way up there. Jalen Brunson's averaging almost 29 points a game. Karl Anthony Towns 22.4. 12 rebounds a game for Carl. Brunson's averaging 6.5 assists. Josh Hart chipping in 5. That's pretty good. Even Mikal Bridges, 4.2, and Karl Anthony Towns averaging 3.5 assists, basically. 3-point percentage. Jalen Brunson shoots almost 7.5 a game. 37.6. Karl Anthony Towns 36. Bridges 41% just about. Enaby about 41%. Hart 38. McBride shoots over 6 threes a game and he's 44.4. Shamet 4.5 threes a game. 43% almost. So pretty impressive. Tough team. Very tough team. They're coming to Target Center. Hopefully Anthony Edwards, is healthy for this one. This is on, again, the 23rd of December, when we're finally, a lot of us poor saps are finally done dealing with work. This is when this game starts to, we'll be seeing the later stages of it if you work second shift. The Knicks destroyed the Timberwolves on November 5th. Ugly game, 137-114. Ugly. And the Wolves have had some ugly games against the Knicks, but then they often come back and win. It seemed like the Wolves would get stomped at home and then go to New York and win. And during the Karl Anthony Towns era, where this is the opposite. So hopefully the Wolves can return the favor and get the job done. I will step out in faith. Hopefully Anthony Edwards is back from what is a foot injury and can score 40 points and put the Wolves on the board here, beating the New York Knicks. It would be a very impressive signature win that the Wolves need. And I'm going to step out in faith and say the Wolves do it versus the New York Knicks. The Wolves at least go 2-2 in this stretch. Anthony Edwards with 40. They beat the Knicks It's a high-scoring game, 128-120. Wolves escape and win that one, pulling away down the stretch. Denver Nuggets on Christmas Day. Jingle bells, jingle bells. Yes, jingle Nuggets all the way. 9:30 p.m. We're the rubber match of this group here on Christmas Day. Great matchup historically. The last few years, you had that 7-game series. We could go on all day about that. It was wonderful. Wonderful. We had some spectacular games versus the Nuggets last year, some close ones. Great rivalry, and great matchup for Christmas Day. It's a winnable game because of injuries, but they've still been winning games over in Denver. That's the thing. They're 20-6. So, they're still really good. Nuggets are 1st in points, 1st in field goal percentage, 3rd in free throw percentage. Again, that's why I'm reading that one. 2nd in 3-point percentage, 14th in three points made, 4th in assists, 15th in total rebounds, 3rd in turnovers, great protecting the ball. Block shots, 28th, because Jokic doesn't really block shots. Number 1 in the league at protecting the ball, Jokic and others. Number 1 in the league at assist-to-turnover ratio. Spectacular, protecting the ball and assist-to-turnover ratio. 3rd in the league in turnovers, in turnovers, like not having them. 4 players on the injured reserve for the Nuggets. Tamar Bates, day-to-day with a foot, December 19th. Payne Watson, day-to-day side. Yep, side injuries. Okay, got you there. I do, unfortunately. December 15th, Aaron Gordon, injured reserve hamstring as of November 21st. So about a month already for that one. Understand, that's not a good one. Christian Braun, yep, that's a name too. He can be a pain in the butt. Injured reserve ankle. Cover up your ankles, fellas. I'm going to say that probably every time now. Nick Van Exel. November 12th, that's going back already quite a bit. It's about 6 weeks here. So 6 weeks with an ankle. Huh. Jeez. You know, doesn't it take like 6 weeks for bones to heal? Man. Unless it was a broken ankle. I don't know. But yeah, that's usually when they're out forever, though. It's not 6 weeks coming back from an ankle in the NBA. No. Hockey, maybe. NBA, no. No. Not because, because hockey players are tougher. I think everybody knows that. And I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. The Wolves lost to Denver 127-114. A pretty decent thrashing, unfortunately, on October 27th. Wolves lost to Denver again by double digits on November 15th. So this one's not going well at all. Both of those were in Target Center, by the way. Can the Wolves return the favor on a Christmas Day victory like they did last year with the stupid Mavericks when the Mavericks were still kind of dangerous? Yep, I mean, that'd be a very impressive win for the... It'd be a very impressive win for the... I don't even know what you call them. It'd be a very impressive win for the Timberwolves part of me if you get this one done. Anthony Edwards with like a 35, Julius Randle with like 30. It'd be so nice. I wish the Wolves could get it done. And I'd like to believe they can. Should I step out in faith? Nuggets have been amazing. They've won all 5 of their last games. Beat Atlanta only by 1. Charlotte, they beat them by 9. Sacramento, they annihilated by 31. Holy crap. Wow. They beat Houston, very good team, by 3. And beat the Magic by 11. So, okay. Interesting matchups here. I don't know. I just don't know. Somehow I think the Wolves might pull off a little Christmas magic. Last year, of course, Doncic went out with, I think it was a hamstring injury or groin. It was like something like that, lower body type, lower to mid area, like hamstring, I believe, which is typical of Doncic, unfortunately, back with the Mavericks. That's why they let their frustration get to him and traded him away to the Lakers, much to all of our chagrin, and especially Mavericks fans. But well, Vince Germano was very happy, understandably, of course. Very understandably. And the Wolves pulled away and won that game. They were actually blowing them out, and then they almost blew it, the Wolves, last year. So maybe this one, the Wolves are like down, and they come back and hang in there and pull away at the last second and win. Overtime game. Timberwolves win I'm going for it. 131-130. Timberwolves win by a point in overtime versus the Denver Nuggets on Christmas Day. There'll be a little Christmas magic. That game will end closer to midnight with the Wolves winning by a point. Merry Christmas, Timberwolves fans. Merry Christmas on that one. It's Christmas Day, so you can say Merry Christmas no matter what your opinions are, because it is Christmas Day. So it is what it is. The final game of the series will be in Denver, of course, on March the 1st on ABC. Wolves are getting a lot of national attention, and they probably should. They have one of the best players in the league, and they've been to the conference finals twice. So that's nice. Wolves will somehow pull this off and go 3-1 this week. Is it being optimistic? Sure. And why not be optimistic? Because it's not like this team is bad. They're 17-10, and they've won a few games without Anthony Edwards, including Oklahoma. And I'd like to believe Anthony will be back for this Christmas Day game at the very least, if not the next game before. So Christmas Eve, with that said. So with that, we'll take a quick break and do a little fan interaction, wrap this up. And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion fan interaction segment, but once again, another quiet week. I'm not sure what's going on. Thought there'd be some kind of response to the Garnett thing I posted about a day ago. No response. So I guess guys are real busy, and that's unfortunate. Huge shout out to. I should have probably included people in like a tweet. I'm gonna have to do that again, like I had been doing before. That'll kind of like say, oh, okay, like Benzo, Tene, obviously, of course, Vince Germano, Levi, Hopeless Wolves fan. Missed you guys. I missed you guys. There's more out there too that I've interacted with over the time, and bummer. Yeah, it looks like Twitter's just been absolutely dead. I don't know if I said something stupid and annoyed people or what happened here, but it's like people aren't even seeing the tweet. I mean, I understand people are busy with Christmas and the holidays and everything, and maybe I'm annoying people with some of my comments. I don't know, and I apologize. Everything's kind of been down and quiet lately. Again, and I know number one cause is probably people are busy, because obviously everybody's busy, so it is what it is. Just want to, again, thank all of you so much for listening. I really do. And I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas going forward, and Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, of course. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa if you celebrate those. Christmas Day will be over the course of this next episode. So just again, wishing you, this is the last episode before Christmas, unless there's like a huge Christmas trade or something for Giannis. Obviously, he's in trade rumors. I didn't really talk about that much because, I don't know, it's kind of like I'll believe it when I see it. Even though, again, after the huge Quinn Hughes trade for the Minnesota Wild that we've all heard about, whether you pay attention to hockey or not. Brave the Wild, of course, recommend that podcast. Wink, wink. But whether you, again, pay attention to hockey or not, I think the Wolves are due for something similar coming up again. They're due for another Conley special. Tim Connolly special, heck, even the Mike Conley trade, with D'Angelo Russell, that was pretty significant too. So obviously Gobert, Mike Conley, Karl Anthony Towns trade. So something is bound to happen between now and the deadline, but conversation is that deadline is probably, it's going to be closer to that time. So obviously well into the new year, maybe the second month of the year, basically, if you know what I mean, February. There'll be something significant's probably going to happen because the roster is a little funky. We love Bones Highland, but I think he's more of a spark plug guy. So far, Dillingham, about the same. So, I mean, you need to get, I think, another lead guard here in Minnesota. I think that needs to happen. Mike Conley, obviously, I've said 1,000 times, is ancient history, and I think a lot of you agree. So we'll see what happens. It's and again, unfortunate. I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas. I'm pretty sure all of you, the familiar names on this show, like Vince Germano, Tene Levi Brown from New Zealand, Vince Germano from Australia, of course, Benzo from the Bronx, Hopeless Wolves fan locally here in the Twin Cities. And I know there's a few others, and my mind's just stopping, and it's a bummer. I'm pretty sure all of you celebrate Christmas, so I want to wish all of you guys a Merry Christmas. I miss hearing from you on the Twitter. I apologize. I've been so, and just quiet. The more I talk, the more you're likely to interact. So then we have more fun conversations back and forth. And again, wishing you all a wonderful Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to those of you that celebrate Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. So take care. Please do put a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast or Spotify if you could. Share the show, retweet the show, repost, whatever we call it, if you could. Call into the show if you could as well by using your smart device. Pull up your smart device. Every smart device on the planet has a free voice recording app. Just open it up, press record, talk into it like a phone call, basically, or just like a voice message or whatever, or a podcast, because you can do podcasts on your smart device. You can. I have. There's at least one Wolves show, or Timberwolves Explosion on there. Several Freedom of Thoughts, a couple of Mysterious Adventures have been on there as well. It's doable, and it's kind of fun. That way you don't have to be indoors, you don't have to be at home or whatever to do it. So with that said, thank you again, and we will talk to you after hopefully the Wolves can beat the Denver Nuggets.